Thank you all for your comments tonight. Certainly appreciate your point of view. One of the questions posed was, would we be in a situation if the budget had passed? Certainly, the budget not passing added a few $1 million to a multi-million dollar problem. And we made a lot of very difficult decisions over the last 3 months of the last school year, none of which we were comfortable with, all of which were very painful, and we certainly can appreciate your point of view. So if I could just, I'll try and pick off some of these individual questions. Back to the beginning, there was a question, just clarification, were the stipends for winter track and spring track coach being combined into a single stipend? No. The answer to that was no. There's still 2 separate stipends as is designated in the collective bargaining. Were alternatives considered? The full range of alternatives were considered in all aspects of the operation. As I said, millions and millions and millions of dollars were cut. A lot of people lost their jobs. Transportation was seriously cut back. Your activity buses were all but eliminated. All maintenance projects were eliminated in every part of our organization. We had to make difficult decisions, and we did the very best we could to keep that away from our students, away from the classroom, and away from the other programs and services that we offer. So I guess the general answer to were alternatives viewed, yes, very thoroughly. Safety of students was one of the concerns that came up, where we would have too many students and coaches. The coaches decreased. As I had mentioned before, I think we'll have to work closely with the coaches to make sure that we don't take on any more students than we can responsibly handle on the team, as we do really for all of our sports. Clubs, there were several questions regarding what the other clubs would be, and I think it was just, was it going to be on a building-by-building basis and determined by the principal? And yes, that process is underway, and each building is making those recommendations to the superintendent. There was some clarification questions on the free and reduced lunches, the fundraising process, and who pays for coaches. The free and reduced threshold, which is an application that's filed by a family, it's a federal process, but it's filed through the school based on the income level and the size of the household. You're either eligible for a free or reduced lunch, and we'll use those same thresholds when it comes to paying a fee for the participation in the winter track program. Fundraising process, that's managed at the building level by the building principal and the SECA as well. Who pays for the coaches? In what I proposed earlier for winter track, the district would pay for the coaches, so that pool of coaching that is available for the track and field, that is part of the budget for the track and field program, would be distributed in the way that best suits that school's needs. But only the 6 per school that's in the budget, not any additional. So the way that we view it, the district pays the coaching stipends, and it's the balance of the fees and the transportation entry fees and that type of thing that would be fundraised or paid by the parents. I'm sure I can catch all of them, but I don't know, Dr. Kagler, do you have to miss anything?
Sean, there was an overarching, and that was, why don't we do everybody a little bit instead of picking a sport? And maybe we could address that a little bit in terms of what.
Yeah, that was considered back in April, May, as we moved through that time period. And there are pros and cons to that as well. I think what's important right now is that will be part of our future. As I said earlier, this year is unique. This year is different than every other year. I think broad-based pay-to-play is going to be something this board will have to consider.
And I just want to remind everybody, it was a very difficult year to forecast it. Sean is pretty good at keeping his pulse on financially what's going on. We didn't know until almost July what the number was. We had to deal with it. Okay, and you can't say lay that blame anywhere in the community, on the board. I mean, that was the state. We didn't know the number until, I guess it was June 28th. Okay, and it's not we're taking baby steps. You know, this is a little bit more trial and error than we're comfortable with, and I think no one up here would disagree. This is something that we're going to have to follow closely. Anyone who's in business knows, you know, you build a model, and then you evaluate it, and you change it, and if you need to use it again, it's there. Well, we're going to need to use this model again. If it looks like this, fine. If we do mid-course corrections, fine. But that was part of our thinking too. This is going to be here to stay. We need to make some decisions, and we need to have something as specific as we can get it, as quickly as we can, so we can evaluate what the effects are. It's not going to be pretty, but it was an objective as possible process.
I'd just like to say, first I'd like to preface my comments by saying that I coached in this district for 34 years, and I paid for my daughter's wedding and her college education because I get paid to be a professional musician. So I hate cuts in any of those areas. I wish I saw this passion, and I'm not blaming anyone here, but I wish I saw this passion when it came time for the budget. I don't know what people expected when $19 million is cut from our budget. I know some of the kids are going to go back to classes, there's going to be 40 kids in the class instead of 20-something. And I don't know what people expect us to do. No one on this board wants to cut anything. But we've been put in an incredible, I know in psychology it's called a double bind situation, between a rock and a hard place. I know that some people wanted to cut out freshman sports. I'm not an advocate of that because I know how important it is for freshmen when they come into the building to have something other than the classroom. I've said this before, some of the greatest lessons that kids learn are not in a classroom. So I wasn't for that. As far as the band goes, it kills me when we cut away the arts. I think the cost of our buses is really minimal, so I don't know if it's going to be that expensive for maybe the band parents to get together and raise money for a bus to go to an away game. I'm certainly all for the Thanksgiving game. I mean, we've got to be able to find money to be able to send Freehold Borough or Freehold Township for that. My problem is this, and I'm sure you understand this because we all have budgets in our homes. We don't have the capacity to print money. And I don't know where this money is going to come from. I know as a coach, I'd be really upset, and I coach soccer, if a parent came to me and said, well, I paid $150, why didn't my kid play in the second half? I mean, you're opening up a Pandora's box or stuff like that. And I know I wouldn't be very comfortable coaching in that kind of a situation. But I don't know what our other answers are, except for Ms. Close, or Mrs. Close. I have an answer to Gloria about equipment managers. I know what they do because I work with them for so many years. They do a lot. Their job is to handle all the equipment for all the sports. That would be cloth uniforms as well as equipment like helmets and soccer balls and all that other stuff. And they catalog it. They have to, you know, give it out. They have to record it. They have to